Hi there, and a very, very warm welcome to another edition of JezzaTime. I wonder what today's story is about. Let's have a look. The Missing Socks. How many times do you go to your sock drawer or your cupboard in the morning to find a pair of socks to wear, only to discover that one is missing? It's so frustrating, isn't it? What has happened to the missing sock? Where has it gone, you wonder? It's simply a mystery. And no matter where you look or however long you search for, the missing sock cannot be found. It has simply disappeared, vanished into space, gone forever, never to be seen again, except on the very rare occasions when it turns up again a few days later in the most unlikely place. Well, the answer to this riddle is that the missing sock has been snatched in the middle of the night. Yes, it's true. While you are sound asleep, possibly snoring, and probably dreaming, a colour elf has secretly and silently stolen into your bedroom and committed the dastardly crime and taken the sock. Now, before you become too stressed or hot under the collar, let me come to their defence by telling you a story which will explain just why these magical creatures have behaved in this way. Firstly, just a reminder, Colour Elves, as I'm sure you are aware, inhabit a secret, hidden dimension of the planet, and our task is to help repaint all the beautiful colours that exist all around us before they start to fade. Fluffy white clouds, brilliant yellow sunlight, magnificent red and orange sunsets, dazzling blue skies, glorious green leaves and hedges, grass everywhere. Not to mention the sheer splendour of the incredible rainbow. All this breathtaking beauty would sadly start to fade away, were it not for the patience and the sheer hard work of these magical creatures. One cold winter's morning, our story begins. The Colour Elves had risen early to begin their usual routine, carefully searching for those areas of the planet that were just beginning to lose their gloss and shine, and then skillfully applying the magical paint that would restore them back to their original brightness. Roy Red, along with two of his close friends, Geeta Green and William White, were working together in a small glade where a clump of decorative holly bushes grew. You may well have come across Roy and Geeta and William before in earlier stories. Roy was repainting those tiny red berries so the birds would be able to see them clearly. They would be thankful, for they relied on them for food at this time of the year. Geeta, well, she was engaged in sprucing up the holly leaves. They're evergreen, so they need to stay bright and glossy all year round. And as for William, oh well, William was tirelessly dabbing his white paint here, there and everywhere, all around upon the snowflakes and the ice crystals, the ones that were just slightly faded, restoring their natural brilliant shine. The three friends were all enjoying their work as usual, but nonetheless a growing sense of unease gradually began to creep upon them. I wonder if you can guess what the matter was. Yes, I'm sure some of you were right. The poor elves were feeling extremely cold. The weather was incredibly -3 degrees, and ice lay all around. ponds and rivers were frozen, and snow was falling heavily. It was not the best weather to be spending outside. Most humans were indoors, warm and dry, with their central heating on full, or their fires blazing brightly on the hearth. As the three friends worked, they gradually became colder and colder. Their toes started to ache, and their fingers lost all feeling and turned numb. Poor Geeta, Roy and William began to shiver and shake, so cold had they become. Now, it's quite fun being out in the snow when you're building snowmen, or sledging down a hill, or even having a snowball fight. I'm sure you all enjoy the excitement and novelty that cold weather and snow can bring. But after a few minutes, remember, you have the luxury of being able to return indoors again and warm up. No such luck for these Colour Elves. It's quite another matter having to work all day, hour after hour, out in the freezing snow and ice. They would have loved to move about more. That would at least have helped them to warm up a little. But because they were so busy painting, they were forced to stay stone still. And so slowly, but surely, the three elves grew colder and colder and colder until they were almost frozen to the core. I wonder if you've ever been trapped outside in the cold for a long period of time. If you ever have been so unfortunate to suffer in this way, then you'll know just how poor Roy, William and Geeta felt. They were certainly not happy elves. They felt deeply sorry for themselves, although they didn't complain. But what could they do to warm up? They would not even consider stopping work and returning home. Oh no, it was not in their nature. Colour Elves are extraordinarily conscientious and refuse to give up easily. Once they've started a task, they're nearly always finish. It's almost unheard of for an elf to surrender and stop painting. Well, apart from one very rare occasion involving bosky blue, which I will tell you about later. I'm absolutely freezing, stuttered Geeta, her teeth chattering as she spoke. I've lost feeling in my toes. Yes, me too, replied Roy. I've been finding it hard to even grip my paintbrush now. Even I'm feeling cold, exclaimed William, and I'm no stranger to working outside in the snow and ice. Wonder what you would have done in this situation. Now, I can guess what you're thinking. You're wondering just how the missing socks come into this story, aren't you? Well, truly something astonishing occurred. Just as the three elves thought they would have to give up due to the intense cold, Roy, gazing around hopefully, noticed something in the far corner of the field. The elves trudged slowly over to investigate and discovered 3 large containers, all of different colours, obviously put there by humans. Can you guess what they were? William and Geeta had no idea and peered with astonishment at them. What on earth are they? Said William, quite nonplussed. Yes, and what's in them? Inquired Geeta, who was always quite curious. There's a sort of wide door built in with a huge handle in the middle. I know what these are, replied Roy in a knowing voice. They're what's called recycling bins. What are they used for? Asked the other 2 elves, becoming quite excited now. Well, I'm sure you know all about recycling and how it is so important to our planet to help to save resources, lessen waste and reduce pollution. It's one of the very useful things that humans do, explained Roy. The three elves climbed into one of the bins and to their surprise discovered it was half full of oddments of assorted clothing. And among the materials were a bundle of socks. Wow! Look at these, cried William excitedly. They're perfect to keep us warm. Yes, and just the right size for us too, cried Geeta in delight. She looked at them mystified. But what are they? She asked. They're called socks, explained Roy. Humans wear them to keep their feet warm. How strange, replied Geeta. But they're perfect for covering us and keeping us warm. Colour Elves always travel barefoot, which is why William and Geeta were so surprised and amused at the notion of people wearing clothing on their feet. So the three elves wrapped themselves up in the socks, and they fitted perfectly. It was similar to how we would have looked and felt wrapped in a sleeping bag. Snug and thankfully warm again, the three friends were able to complete their painting without any further discomfort from the freezing cold. So an important discovery had been made, for from that day forward, the Colour Elves frequently encased themselves in human socks whenever they were working outside on especially cold winter days. It often caused a great deal of hilarity, but it definitely made their lives so much easier. The only problem was that the socks needed replacing at regular intervals, for they often ended up bespattered with paint, particularly when the elves also started using them to catch any drips while they were working. When this occurred, if there were no suitable socks to be scavenged from the recycling bins, the elves were forced to furtively creep into the bedrooms of humans in order to secretly borrow a replacement sock or two. Mind you, they never took a complete pair. Colour Elves believe strongly in sharing, and so they always left one for its original owner to wear, little realising that, well, one sock is not a particularly useful piece of clothing for a human to possess. Sometimes they were returned, but more often than not, the socks disappeared, never to be seen again, leaving its owner totally mystified as to where it had gone. So, you now know what happened to the socks, but please keep it secret. Surely, after all the amazing, incredible, useful things that the Colour Elves do for us, they're entitled to a few socks. What do you think? If ever your socks disappear, don't worry, the reason is clear. It's simply an elf needs your sock for itself to further its painting career. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If so, please press like, subscribe and share. However, until we meet again, remember, look after yourselves and your friends. But for now, from me, Jezza, and Timmy, it's goodbye.